Chair. Can I raise two or three issues? The first one, Eddie, I'm grateful that you mentioned the canals at the outset. I'm just unfortunate they don't show up in the maps, but I've got no doubts that residential developers will be eyeing those canal sides very eagerly, because I suspect they can enhance the values of the developments by up to 40%. Nicky, just listen to what I'm after. So that's the residential side. But I'm more concerned, actually, that they are used during the works construction site. And I think if this is going to be a huge development site for several decades, and I know one nuisance that many local residents won't like at all is the huge movements of lorries, particularly for residents like Wells Road, who are, I think, unfortunately trapped. I just want to be reassured that the MDC, from the outset, will be making it clear that the canal will be used as a substantial means of moving materials and spoils out of this major site.
I'm very happy to give you that reassurance, and that could be part of the planning policy framework document that's put together. I would also just add that, of course, as part of HS2 and Crossrail, there are some very large sites that have been earmarked for sites for disposal of the spoil, because a lot of the tunnelling is coming out here and will be disposed of on the railway network. So I think we've got to make sure we use that railway network as well for the commercial developments.
Well, I'll endorse that, but I don't think I just hope the lessons from Crossrail in Paddington are learned. That's all I'll say, and I'm sure you can find out about it. The second issue is work with scrubs, and I concur with Councillor Wesley Harcourt of College Park and Old Oak Common. But my concern is actually the accessibility of worm scrubs for the Plainfields. Someone who grew up in W9, this was one of the places where we went to play football regularly, and the way into that site was always through the track and fields and into Scrubs Park. But from the boundaries, you've separated the two physically. Now, I'm just wondering how is that going to impact on the accessibility of those playing fields whilst they're in your hands?
I suspect there's a detail there which I don't necessarily fully understand. But
can you bring this map up,
if you bring it up, you can see it, track and fields outside. It's actually it's a part of World Scrubs to all intents and purposes for anyone who uses the playing fields.
But I mean, certainly, I can't imagine that anybody in Hammersmith and Fulham, or indeed in Wormwood Scrubs, want to actually close off the existing access ways. Onto the common.
Okay, can I be reassured that that is looked in? Because the last time I used it, you used the dressing rooms and the track and field before you get in.
I mean, we're about permeability here.
Okay, well,
totally about opening the.
Okay, well, it has
there is a railway line down there. Of course.
Sorry?
There is the railway line down there, which creates, if it's where I think you are.
True, there's also a car park there as well. That's the way most people normally come through. The third issue, which is something I found out. It's coming into the business park area, and you're quite right, you want to maintain the commercial and business use there. But there is a conflict of usage potentially, and interestingly enough, the fracking company, London Local Energy, have suggested that one potential site it can sink a fracking well is the Park Royal Industrial Estate near Willesden. Now that's probably going to be potentially that's the most centrally located fracking site. I just want to know where the MDC lies on this issue, given local boroughs like Brent have made quite clear what their position is.
I've got to say to you, I hadn't heard about that. I thought the only fracking sites were potentially in South London and not actually in North London, and that the various firms have been looking to the south, but certainly not in that area. But, I mean, there is no policy for the MDC. We've never even thought about it or considered it. What we are quite clear about is that it is important that there are some energy plants in that area to feed the area, but I'm not talking about fracking when I'm saying that. I'm talking about some of the green energies and the waste disposal sites.
I'll give you the reference, BBC News Business, 28th of October 2014, and they quote a Nick Greeley, as saying that that is one of the potential sites. I say that because I should let you remind you that Councillor Mohammed Butt has declared Brent to be a fracking-free zone. So it'll be interesting to see how the Planning Committee deal with that one. I just raised that for information.
Can we look into it? And I mean, I can't see us falling out with Mohammed Butt.
Well, I definitely hope so, because I think it's going to be dealt with in the Planning Committee.
I mean, it's fair to say there's a long list of infrastructure asks. There's a lot of things we've got to pay for. We're looking at how it's funded. Fracking isn't part of that consideration at the current time. But we'll certainly look into that.
Right.